In July 2022, I flew on Jetstar in economy class. In summary, the check-in queues were jam-packed. I departed Sydney and arrived at Melbourne slightly late, and the flight was uneventful. Equally important, Jetstar is a low-cost airline. Hence, your base fare covers the seat and your carry-ons, and you must pay for add-ons such as checked baggage, meals, and extra legroom. With a low-cost airline, passenger comfort will be sacrificed. That's the case aboard Jetstar. No adjustable headrest and limited legroom. The result is a typical low-cost airline experience, which is what Jetstar excels at since they're experts at carrying passengers who want to travel from point A to point B affordably. However, I paid a bundle where everything is included except flexibility. Today, that bundle no longer makes sense due to the new fare rules, and other competitors have a more elevated economy experience. Additionally, you can't earn frequent flyer points with that bundle, which is something that I like to do if I want to purchase something, not just flying exclusively. There's one airline that does allow customers to earn frequent flyer points, including travelers paying its most basic bundle. While Jetstar keeps things simple with its no-frills airfares, the airline in question has spent 25 years trying to revolutionize what Australian domestic travel could be. They've been Qantas' biggest competitor, nearly went bankrupt trying to chase them, and emerged from administration with a completely new business strategy. That airline is Virgin Australia. But here's what makes this interesting. While Qantas have been in the news for many wrong reasons, Virgin have been quiet, trying to sway frequent flights that they're the better alternative to flying domestic and short-haul international routes. This isn't just about comparing Virgin Australia with Jetstar or Qantas. It's about whether Australia's second largest carrier has the right formula that wins travellers without going broke, or if it's just a well-marketed compromise that satisfies no one. In 2000, British business magnate Sir Richard Branson introduced Virgin Blue as Australia's first low-cost carrier. Within 12 months, it became Australia's second largest airline when Qantas' rival carrier, Ansett Australia, collapsed due to financial trouble. Virgin's biggest strength is selling low airfares, which are made possible by removing extras some customers don't need from its base fare, such as checked baggage and meals. However, to keep operational expenses low, Virgin exclusively sells tickets online or over the phone and operates one or two aircraft types such as the Boeing 737. By 2004, Virgin's business model was so successful that it forced Qantas to launch Jetstar to compete with them in the budget traveller market and to protect its market share. In 2009, Virgin Blue introduced V Australia as its long-haul arm. This offshoot flies a fleet of Boeing 777-300ER aircraft to select international destinations. This arrangement lasted for 2 years when this airline merged with Virgin Blue to become Virgin Australia, the airline you know today. Under new leadership, Virgin Australia transformed into a full-service carrier. Therefore, it competed directly with Qantas as it sought to win corporate and premium travellers. It also introduced additional wide-body aircraft such as the Airbus A330-200 as well as turboprop aircraft such as the ATR-72 for regional destinations. To replace itself in the low-cost segment, Virgin Australia acquired Tiger Air Australia. With this two-airline strategy, Virgin hoped that this model would win new customers while remaining profitable. Initially, Virgin brought Qantas into financial trouble, forcing the mighty national carrier to cut jobs and costs to stay alive in the cutthroat airline business industry. But Virgin's rebranding will prove ineffective, as while Qantas returned to profit, they did not. Virgin's financial troubles became critical with the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, halting its flight operations. With almost no passengers to generate income and its balance books in the red, the airline had no choice but to enter voluntary administration. 4 months later, Bain Capital became Virgin Australia's majority shareholder and initiated its revitalization plan aimed at streamlining its products, services, and fleet. This meant the end of Virgin's long-haul international operations and the termination of Tiger Air. With its business strategy shifted towards a hybrid model, Bain's rescue plan proved fruitful. In October 2023, Virgin posted a profit for the first time in 11 years. This meant, financially, the airline is back in the black. But what about their onboard experience? A month after this announcement, I decided to put their new business strategy to the ultimate test. I booked a flight from Sydney to Perth, not just to get across the country, but to answer that fundamental question. Had Virgin Australia changed, or were they just better at managing the same old compromises? The airline's owners and executives know that they must adapt to survive. So, when I booked this flight, I didn't anticipate how much they transformed, changing the way I thought about the Virgin Australia experience, for better and worse. Like Jetstar, Virgin offers tiered fare types depending on customers' needs. The big difference is that the airline has a buy-on-board service. Hot meals, snacks, and beverages, except water, tea, and coffee, are not included for all economy class customers. This means you need to purchase them if you want something during the flight. Like Qantas, Virgin's in-flight entertainment offerings are free and accessible, though everyone will need to bring their electronic device. However, Virgin kept business class in its cabin offerings to cater for the business and premium travel demand. If you fly in business class, your fare will include airport priority service, lounge access, and plated meals. For the flight from Sydney to Perth, I was seated in economy class. Virgin has 3 economy fare types: light, choice, and flex. I chose light, the most affordable of the 3 bundles, which includes a seat and carry-on baggage. The benefit of flying with Virgin is that you can earn Velocity loyalty points regardless of which airfare you choose for your domestic or international flight. At that time, mileage determines how many points you earn for your flight. However, in October 2024, Virgin switched to a spend-based system, meaning you will earn points based on how much you spend per flight. The Velocity program also entitles customers to earn points with their partners. The most common is Flybys, which you can shop at Coles supermarkets and liquor stores, as well as Wesfarmers' own retailers like Kmart and Bunnings. What's interesting about the Velocity program is that you can earn status points while you're shopping for groceries, homeware, and DIY products. There's a limit to how many Velocity status credits you earn outside of flying per month, but it goes a long way to upgrading to a higher membership tier. Speaking of membership tiers, the Velocity program has 3 levels: Silver, Gold, and Platinum. All these tiers will offer you more Velocity points, lounge access, priority service, and in higher tiers, flexibility and business class upgrades. To qualify for these tiers, you need to earn a certain number of status credits. The membership cycle lasts 12 months. To maintain your status, the number of credits needed to renew your membership is lower. All you do is earn enough, regardless of how you achieve it, and your status will continue for another year. The Velocity program earns you points however you shop, builds status however you travel, and maintains it however you can. It's flexible, accessible, and generally useful. But loyalty programs only matter if the flights are worth taking in the first place. As I walked into Sydney Airport's Terminal 2 that November morning, I wasn't just another passenger booking the cheapest flight west. After months of implementing its transformation plan with a new business model, it was time to find out if Virgin Australia's revitalized product stacks up in the post-COVID airline industry. Like Jetstar, Virgin Australia domestic flights operate out of Terminal 2. The big difference is that the airport experience with Virgin Australia was refreshingly smooth. I arrived at Terminal 2 at 5:45 AM to confirm my seat, print my boarding pass, and leave my checked baggage at the counter. The check-in queues and security line was short, which meant I cleared security by 6:05 AM, just 20 minutes from terminal entrance to airside. This efficiency gave me over 30 minutes to relax before my flight, which I spent grabbing some donuts and hot chocolate, as well as snapping photos and film footage for content. It's a stark contrast to the jam-packed queues I experienced with Jetstar, though in retrospect, this airport terminal is much quieter compared to the post-lockdown chaos more than a year ago. My flight, VA551, departs from Gate 42. The gate area was well organized and boarding commenced right on schedule at 6:45 am. Virgin Australia's mainline fleet consists exclusively of the Boeing 737, an American-built narrow-body short-haul aircraft. Specifically, today's aircraft is a Boeing 737-800, part of the next generation family. My 737 doesn't feature the Boeing Sky interior, but it's configured with 8 business class seats and 100 economy class seats. I was assigned 10 Alpha, a window seat that would give me a good perspective on the Virgin Australia experience. This later appointed seat has 31 inches of legroom and 17.5 inches of width. Subtle but noticeable improvements over typical budget airline configurations. The seat featured an adjustable headrest for head comfort and a sturdy tray table that retracts and folds smoothly back into the seat. A literature pocket is handy to store your items. However, it is where the a la carte menu and the safety instructions card are placed. Finally, this economy class seat comes from an old design. There is no charging port or universal power outlet in each seat. We pushed back from Gate 42 at 7:16 am, just 1 minute after our scheduled departure time. Impressive punctuality for an airline that recently exited voluntary administration. We taxied towards Sydney Airport's runway 34 left, which is also used by almost all long-haul international flights. As we ascended westwards over the sprawling city, we passed near the construction site of Western Sydney Airport, Sydney's future second international gateway. It was a fascinating glimpse of Australia's aviation future from the window of one of its major airline players. An unpleasant surprise happened on the opposite side of the aisle as one of the overhead bins started leaking, forcing my flight attendants to plug the leak with tissues or anything they could find. At that time, this 737 had been with Virgin Australia for nearly 2 decades, and this minor issue reminds me of the challenges of maintaining the aircraft to satisfy Australia's demanding domestic market. Fortunately, Virgin had just introduced the 737 MAX to expand its fleet and replace its older aircraft. The benefit of flying with Virgin Australia is that water, tea and coffee are complimentary to all economy class passengers. However, if you're after a snack or a meal, Virgin has a reasonable selection of savory and sweet options, as well as alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages from the menu. The biggest change is that everything on the card is buy on board. This means that you need to pay to get your meal, which is a fair compromise for what you get with Virgin Australia. I didn't eat anything on this flight as I already had my snack during the airport experience. This aircraft doesn't have seatback entertainment screens, but Virgin Australia provides in-flight entertainment through your electronic device. This requires scanning a QR code to access a dedicated page containing a solid selection of movies, TV shows, and music. Unlike the menu, the in-flight app is free to stream content. Wi-Fi is also available for a fee, but I chose not to purchase it. Virgin Australia also offers an in-flight map tracker for aviation enthusiasts. It provides useful flight information, including the flight path, altitude, speed, and projected arrival time. Speaking of the flight, our aircraft took us over New South Wales, then across Southern Australia, where we passed Adelaide, the fifth and smallest of Australia's major cities, before crossing the Nullarbor and entering Western Australia. This journey showcased Australia's vast landscape from 35,000 feet, and is always a reminder of just how big this continent is. All Virgin Australia's 737-800s and its -700s are equipped with lavatories. This 737-800 has 3 lavatories, one in the front and 2 in the rear. This lavatory was clean and decent, and stocked with hand soap and paper towels. This is what I expected from a well-run airline operation. After nearly 5 hours in the air, it is time to descend into Perth, Western Australia. Home to over 2 million inhabitants, Perth is the westernmost of all major Australian cities and one of the world's most isolated cities. However, Perth houses local attractions such as Fremantle, Elizabeth Quay, Kings Park, and Rottnest Island. The best thing about visiting Perth is that you can see a sunset over the Indian Ocean unobstructed, as my father and I did in this example in Fremantle. Perth is also the main gateway to Western Australian mine sites, especially in the Pilbara region via Perth Airport, its main international air gateway. Perth Airport has 4 terminals and 2 intersecting runways. My flight's approach requires a right bank away from Perth CBD, landing in a north-northeasterly direction on runway 03. Eventually, I arrived at Terminal 2 at 9:08 AM, a full 12 minutes ahead of schedule. This early arrival capped off an impressively punctual operation from Virgin Australia, reinforcing their commitment to reliable service under the new management structure. So how much did Virgin change to become that stronger, profitable carrier? Well, almost everything, but in the right ways. Aside from this very efficient flight operation, Virgin Australia's check-in experience had very few problems. Confirming my reservation is as simple as scanning my flight booking, finalizing seats and baggage, printing my ticket, and dropping my checked bag at the counter. The boarding experience is organized and punctual, which enabled me to leave Sydney roughly on time. The seat comfort, though average in aviation standards, generally offers the best legroom of any Australian domestic airline I experienced, albeit by only an inch. It is also decently comfortable for this transcontinental flight thanks to its adjustable headrest, and the seat design looks classy yet colorful for an airline that tries to differentiate itself from Qantas. I appreciate Virgin Australia offering free water on this flight, as well as its in-flight entertainment options. On the other hand, the buy on board menu needs more thought. Jetstar's catalog is more compelling than Virgin's, with its integration of imagery and typography to create a hypothetical visualization of what a customer will get by buying from their menu. Virgin's list-based approach feels disconnected from the images of their purchasable items, and if they had gone the route of Jetstar, I would be more compelled to buy something from their catalog for this flight. The crew on this Virgin Australia flight were noticeably more friendly and engaging than what I experienced on Jetstar. They seemed genuinely interested in passenger comfort, and I had the opportunity to chat with some flight attendants even after disembarking the aircraft. However, they were understandably camera shy, wanting to maintain their privacy and professionalism, which I completely respect. Looking back, I see that Virgin Australia has successfully positioned itself in the sweet spot between Jetstar's pure budget approach and Qantas's full-service premium offerings. They've retained the elements that matter most to passengers while removing some costly extras that led to their previous financial troubles. So how much is this flight worth? My choice fare costs $478, which includes the return leg to Sydney. However, factoring in the seat selection and checked baggage, my total came to $576.87. For this journey, I earned 2,390 velocity points and 20 status credits under the previous mileage-based system. Under Virgin's new spend-based points formula introduced in October 2024, this same flight would earn me 2,264 points and 24 status credits. Had I paid the fares without the extras, the earnings would be even less than what I paid for. It disappoints me that Virgin Australia switched to a spend-based system for accumulating points and status credits, as it effectively devalues your earnings whenever you fly with Virgin or a partner airline carrying a Virgin flight number. It's a shame because the ability to earn points regardless of fare type remains one of their key advantages over competitors such as Jetstar or Qantas. Even on the basic light fare, you're building towards status benefits and future redemptions, something that adds tangible value for frequent travelers. This is my first time flying with Virgin Australia, but I see why they're trying to give their rivals a run for their money. They emerged from administration as a generally improved airline, leaner, more focused, but still committed to passenger comfort and service quality. This is why Virgin Australia's hybrid model delivers real value, especially for travelers who want more than basic transportation but don't need full service luxury. The combination of competitive pricing, superior comfort, operational reliability, and meaningful loyalty benefits creates a compelling proposition in Australia's competitive domestic market. With Qatar Airways partnership, the arrival of new aircraft, and a return to the stock exchange as they resume printing money, Virgin Australia is here to stay, despite the COVID-19 pandemic nearly wiping out 2 decades of their operational excellence. So while they might have won my satisfaction and trust, and potentially other Australian travellers, its biggest competitor is doing almost the opposite of what Virgin does today. 2 down, 1 to go. This Australian airline comparison review is approaching its destination. In the final part of this series, I'll be flying Qantas from Sydney to Melbourne to experience what the national airline can offer in today's market. Over the past few years, Qantas has faced significant reputational challenges. This includes operational disruptions, customer service issues, and questionable pricing and executive decisions that have damaged public trust. Qantas has been working to rebuild its reputation while maintaining its position as Australia's largest and most premium carrier. The question is, does the Qantas experience justify its premium positioning? Or is the airline's failure to address serious operational and customer criticisms enough to force travellers to switch to its competitors, such as Virgin Australia? The answer will be revealed in my final installment of this comparison series. In the meantime, don't forget to like this review, share it with your friends, and subscribe to get notified of my next experience or adventure. For a complete overview of Qantas' low-cost subsidiary, check out the Jetstar experience on screen now. This trip reveals the good, the bad, and the honest perspective with the airline famous for its all-day, everyday low fares.